What's the story, YouTube? This is Heritage, and this is my Star Wars Rise of Skywalker review. Yeah, this ain't good. It's not as bad as Hellboy. Like, Hellboy had really big problems in terms of how it was, looking so cheap and how it was constructed. This is a slick production. Don't get me wrong. I can't fault the visuals. I can't fault any of the creature designs, any of the world building that you've seen in this. Like, there's some great looking ships. It's, the worlds that they go to are fantastic. Some really nice visual effects, but it's just meh. I mean, it's just really, really meh. There's no drama in it. There's no real heart in it, for want of a better term. It just kind of flows over you. I was just sitting there the whole time, and there was no sense of momentum. There was no sense of anything really important going on. I'll try to start with the good bit stuff. And like I said, I'm going to have minor spoilers in here, so I'm not going to do a non-spoiler section. So if you're not interested in hearing things with that'll spoil it for you, just don't listen to this, because I'm going to drop in just from the start, because it's not really worth doing a non-spoiler section. The good stuff in this is it undoes a lot of the egregious stuff that happened in The Last Jedi. In fact, in a way, you could take this film as a kind of I suppose, an artistic fight between Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams as they kind of battle with each other's ideas for what they had for this franchise. If you see, like I said, the way J.J. set up, say, Finn, for instance, as being force sensitive, that's back on the table here again. He's not like a Jedi or anything like that. I'd say he's like Leia was in the original trilogy, towards the end, where she just knew what was going on with Luke, stuff like that. Like, he's not levitating rocks or anything. He's not, using a lightsaber out in this one, but he's definitely more in tune with the Force. And, that's the sense that you get. Like, they're returning to his, arc in the beginning of being a stormtrooper that, it could be a Jedi. Poe is more of a kind of a scoundrel, for want of a better term. Nothing huge, but I mean, it is a return to him, not being an idiot like he was in The Last Jedi. That was being portrayed as that. And there's none of this, the overweening feminist nonsense that was in that film. There's no general hold-up moment or anything like that. There's even one or two outright digs at Rian Johnson's film, in the sense that, like, there's a scene where Rey is going to throw away a lightsaber, and it's basically caught by a Force ghost of Luke Skywalker. And he outright says that's no way to treat a lightsaber. Mirroring what he was, forced to do, for want of a better term, in The Last Jedi. And there is an awful lot of kind of retconning, for want of a better term, for what happened in The Last Jedi, to try and get the characters back on track the way they should be in terms of heroic story arcs and the like. But the consequence of this is that the film just starts, goes on, and ends. There's no other way I can say it. It doesn't feel like there's a momentum. It doesn't feel like there's any form of... It's very kind of formulaic. Like I said, somebody actually said in another review that it feels like a video game. You got to go to this place to pick up this clue, to go to get this device that gets you to another part. It does feel like several levels of a video game that you're playing through, as opposed to an actual movie. But I'm getting sidetracked there. I just tried to stick with the good stuff that's in this. Lando Calrissian, brilliant. Billy D. Williams has fantastic charisma. He's not in it much, but what he is in, like, he's great on screen, and I like the guy. He is cool, and it's just great to see him back. I'm not actually adverse to the villain being Palpatine. I mean, a lot of people were saying that that's like completely out of left field, and but I mean, the one thing I will say is that it was mentioned in the prequel films that he was, I think, student to Darth Plagueis, and he knew the secret to eternal life or something. And it makes sense that once he killed him, that he would have that knowledge. So if anybody could bring himself back, it would be Palpatine. And in fairness, it's not pretty. He looks like a zombie. To me, that's the impression I got. Although he seems to be hanging from this cybernetic device, which really made me think of a character called Cameron Hodge from the X Factor series from way back in the wind. I think around the Extinction Agenda period of that comic book. It just looked exactly like it to me. Or maybe I might be confusing with another anime or something, but it definitely looked like his device that was keeping him alive, for want of a better term, is it just definitely screamed that out to me anyway. And like I said, some of the visuals are fantastic when the fleet of ships are there going up against each other battle, but it just didn't have any sense of drama to it. That's pretty much the best thing to say about it. Like, the rest of it is just, it's incredibly meh. I give it a 5 out of 10. I wouldn't see it in the cinema. Let's be honest with you again. Like, I wouldn't go. When I was in there, there was only about 10 or 12 people. There wasn't that many. I mean, I may be wrong. Maybe it's getting greater reception elsewhere, but it just didn't bring in the crowds. And this is Christmas around my area, so there really should have been a lot of people going. Kids are all off school and everything, and it's just not packing it out. But Yeah, for the culmination of the Skywalker saga, this didn't really feel like it hit the beats, like it didn't feel like a Star Wars film. There's actually points in it in terms of direction where I kept thinking of Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, which is not a good thing to be referencing because, if memory serves correctly, that thing didn't even have a script because was made during the writer's strike. There was just some very kind of, Michael Bay-esque moments in terms of panning shots and the like, particularly in the desert. It just made me think of that film. And don't get me wrong as well, I don't want to fault the actors. I think they did the best they could with the material they had. John Boyega was great. Isaac was great. I know a lot of people give out about Rey, but for what she is, she's a massive Mary Sue, let's be honest. But it wasn't badly acted. It's just what was there in terms of the script was just woeful. Some of the dialogue was really not good at all. And some of the stuff that was happening, the basically charge on the horses on a Star Destroyer just makes no sense whatsoever. Even if, let's be honest, if they've had that as an actual tactic, just roll the ship, turn it upside down, they all fall off. It is actually in the atmosphere of a planet. There were many times in this where you just see stuff happen and you go, why did you do that? That makes no sense whatsoever. Of course, the reason being though, you have to get to that part in the script in order to actually finish the film. The final fight at the end with all the Star Destroyers, apparently we're meant to believe that they can't figure out which way is up on a planet, which just makes no sense whatsoever. Just look out the bloody window. It's just lighting like that. It just been really contrived to force the combat sequences that they wanted to do. It didn't make any logical sense. A classic example of this would be the fight with Rey at the end with Palpatine, where he's using Force lightning against her, and she uses, two lightsabers cross to try and force the lightning back onto him. As a device, I've no problem with that, but he's projecting the lightning. Wouldn't you just stop? He's basically killed himself just by not, by continuing to fire his own lightning. If he had just stopped, that would have been the end of that fight. And it made no sense as well, because apparently what he wanted her to do in the first place was kill him. He's still in the same place. He's still hooked up to the machine. So how is he not going to end up being able to transmit his life force into her if he kills him? Like I said, stuff like this is going to wind you up more than anything else when you come out of it. But like I said, its much egregious fault is that it is meh. It just washes over you. Like I said, it's not a roaring, blockbuster type film. Now, it is very action packed. Don't get me wrong, there's an awful lot of action in it, but you get a feeling an awful lot of action today is just to cover up the fact that they don't have much of a script or a plot to go by, and you can really understand the rumours of all the different endings because the way it went, it was just, I don't know, it's just, I'd actually say it's worse than The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi wasn't a great film, let's be honest, but at least it was structurally and tonally, consistent in terms of what it wanted to do. This thing's just all over the place. So I can't recommend this. I'd say stream it when it comes out on Netflix. If it's going cheap, in the bargain bin, I get it. It's just very, very disappointing for what should be a massive blockbuster. This is Star Wars, so to see it fall to this level of just pure banality, it's heartbreaking for those who were raised in it. For me, I wasn't a huge Star Wars fan. I liked it. I just can't believe that, something that. But I'll give you a classic example. I'm a huge Transformers fan. If you'd have told me a couple of years ago that Transformers would actually be in a better state in a franchise than Star Wars, I'd have laughed in your face because Star Wars is a massive franchise. Now I'd actually say Transformers is probably ahead of it in terms of what it can do in the cinema, in terms of product it can sell. I think it's probably ahead of it. And that's just a damning indictment of the whole affair. So Disney have kind of basically ruined these things. It's a terrible to say, but they have. So, if you enjoy this, fair play to you. I heard a few kids, afterwards when I was leaving the cinema, they were quite scared of the Emperor, so they did succeed in the kind of the evil villain front with him. Not overly scared, but they were quite, impressed with him, as a villain. But you're talking about 9 or 10-year-olds here, so it's probably only really working on that front. So there you go. That's me, Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker review. Real disappointment, I have to say. So let us know what you think about it yourself in the credits. If you like this review, like and subscribe, and share wherever you want. So take care, guys. Bye bye.